the sound of hooves on the open field, the golden sun setting over Heartland, and a single thought racing through every fan's mind. What if Ty Borden walked back through that door? For years, the question has lingered in silence. Echoing in every scene, Amy stood alone, every time Lyndy asked about her father, and every moment the family tried to hold on to hope. Now, in Season 19 Episode 1, that question has been answered. Ty is back and his return changes everything. Ty Borden has always been more than just a character in Heartland. From the moment he first arrived at Jack's ranch as a troubled young man, fans saw something in him that went deeper than his rough edges. He was a fighter, not only against his past but also for the life he wanted to build. And that life centered on Amy Fleming. Their bond was unshakable from the start. They shared the same love for horses, the same belief in healing, and the same dream of building something together. Over the seasons, viewers watched them grow, stumble, forgive, and find their way back to each other time and time again. But then came the moment no one was prepared for, the moment when Ty's story seemed to end too soon. His absence left an emptiness that couldn't be filled. Amy was left raising Lyndy with only memories of the man who had once stood by her side. The ranch, though still alive with work and family, carried a quiet sadness. Heartland was still beautiful, still strong, but without Ty, it felt incomplete. Amy tried to stay strong, because that's who she is. She poured her heart into the horses, into Lyndy, and into her family. Jack stood beside her. Lou offered her strength, and together they kept moving forward. But even when Amy smiled, fans could see the weight she carried. Every horse she healed seemed to heal a piece of her. Yet the wound left by Ty's absence was one that time alone could not close. Still, Heartland has always been about hope. And hope is what kept Ty's memory alive. It was in the way Amy spoke to Lyndy about her father, in the way Jack told stories of resilience, and in the way the ranch seemed to hold on to its spirit despite all the hardship. Deep down, fans clung to that same hope, dreaming of the day when somehow, someway, Ty might return. And now, that day has come. The build-up to Ty's return did not happen in a single moment. It was carefully sewn into the fabric of Heartland, like threads of a story waiting to be pulled together. Season 19, Episode 1 begins quietly, the way many of the best Heartland stories do. There is no sudden thunder, no explosion of music. Instead, there is silence that feels heavy, like the pause before a storm. Amy is in the barn, brushing down Spartan, lost in her own thoughts. The air carries that sense of something unfinished, something unresolved. Fans have long known that Heartland is about subtle signs, a look, a word, a memory. They all carry meaning. In the episodes leading up to this season, there were small hints scattered like breadcrumbs for those willing to notice. Amy often spoke about Ty as though he were still part of her daily life. When she guided Lyndy, she used Ty's words. When she spoke to Jack, she shared Ty's old wisdom about patience and kindness. It was as if the show itself refused to let him go. Jack, too, carried an unspoken weight. The old man who had seen so much loss over his lifetime sometimes paused a little longer before speaking Ty's name. He looked out over the fields at dusk with a faraway stare, as though expecting to see someone ride back across the horizon. Lou, busy as ever, sometimes caught herself setting 2 plates at the table before realizing there was no need. These details may have seemed small, but together they planted a seed in the hearts of fans. Maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe Ty's story still had a chapter left to tell. The community around Heartland reflected that same hope. Viewers around the world refused to let go of Ty Borden. Online discussions filled with theories, dreams, and desperate wishes. Could his story be rewritten? Could the writers bring him back? Some believed it impossible, others believed it inevitable. But one thing was certain: the longing for Ty never faded. This anticipation became part of the show's energy. And when Season 19 finally arrived, the tension was ready to break. In Episode 1, this tension builds slowly. Amy is shown working with a new horse, a wild one with a broken trust in humans. The horse resists her touch at first, frightened, unsure, but Amy whispers calm words. She tells the horse that healing is possible, that even the deepest scars can fade if given time. For longtime viewers, these words carried more than one meaning. She wasn't only speaking to the horse, she was speaking to herself, to her daughter, and unknowingly, to Ty. As the episode unfolds, the signs grow stronger. Lyndy finds an old photo of her parents together. She brings it to Amy and asks a question that cuts straight to the heart. Do you think Daddy will ever come back? Amy smiles faintly, trying to stay strong for her child, but her eyes reveal a flicker of something deeper. Not denial, not certainty, but hope. That single moment lights the path forward. Then comes the foreshadowing that fans will remember forever. Late at night, Amy steps outside the ranch house. The sky is filled with stars, and the wind carries a strange stillness. She closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and whispers, "Wherever you are, Ty, I hope you find your way home." The camera lingers on her face, then shifts to the open road leading into Heartland. A shadow in the distance suggests movement of figure not yet revealed, but unmistakably familiar. The build-up is masterful because it doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't hand the audience answers. It invites them to feel the ache of waiting, the quiet pull of destiny. By the time the episode reaches this point, fans are leaning forward, hearts racing, waiting for the door to open, for the silence to break. Ty's presence is felt before it is seen. His return is no longer a question. It is a promise hanging in the air, about to be fulfilled. The moment Heartland fans had been waiting for finally arrives with quiet intensity. It doesn't begin with trumpets or loud music, it begins with the sound of footsteps. Amy is in the barn again, brushing Spartan, the lantern light glowing softly against the wooden beams. She hears the door creak, and at first, she assumes it's Jack or maybe Lou checking in. But when she turns, everything freezes. The brush slips from her hand, landing on the hay-strewn floor. Standing in the doorway is the figure she has carried in her heart for years, Ty Borden. The first seconds feel unreal. Even for Amy, her eyes widen, and her breath catches. She takes a step back as though her mind can't trust what her heart instantly knows. He looks almost the same, strong, steady. His eyes filled with the same quiet warmth, but older too, touched by the weight of years apart. The silence stretches between them, filled with memories of love, loss, and longing. It is not just a man returning to a barn. It is a soul coming home. Ty's first words are soft, almost trembling. He says her name, Amy. Just that single word, but it carries everything: apology, love, regret, and hope. Amy's lips part, but no sound comes. Tears well in her eyes before she even realizes it. For so long she has dreamed of this moment, and now that it is here, she cannot move. Her body is frozen between disbelief and overwhelming joy. Then Ty steps forward. His movements are careful, almost hesitant, as though he fears the moment will break if he rushes it. He stops just a few feet away, close enough for Amy to see the depth in his eyes, the exhaustion of his journey, and the longing he has carried all this time. His voice breaks as he whispers, "I'm sorry. I should have never left you, not like that." Amy finally finds her strength. She shakes her head, tears spilling freely, and whispers, "You're here. That's all that matters. You're here." In that instant, the dam of silence breaks. Amy rushes into his arms, and the embrace is fierce, desperate, and unshakable. Years of separation collapse into that single hug, and for the first time in what feels like forever, Amy is whole again. The scene lingers on their reunion, not rushing the moment. The camera catches the trembling of Amy's hands as they grip the back of Ty's jacket, as if holding on to prove he is real. Ty buries his face in her hair, his shoulders shaking with emotion he can no longer contain. The silence is filled only by the sound of their breathing and the quiet rustle of hay beneath their feet. Then comes the flood of words, halting, emotional, raw. Ty speaks of the battles he faced, the reasons he stayed away, the mistakes he made. Amy listens, her tears falling but her eyes locked on his, unwilling to let go even for a second. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't demand details. She only repeats the truth her heart knows. You came back. You found your way home. The reunion is not just between Amy and Ty, it's between Ty and Heartland itself. Jack enters the barn quietly, drawn by the sound of voices. At first, his face hardens, cautious, almost protective of Amy. But when he sees Ty, something softens deep inside him. He nods once, no words needed. Just the silent acceptance of a man who understands the meaning of family and second chances. Outside, the ranch seems to breathe again. The wind shifts, the horses stir, and the land itself feels alive with new energy. Ty's return is not only a moment for Amy, it is a return for Heartland, a return for the family, a return for the story that fans have carried in their hearts. By the end of the scene, Amy and Ty stand together, side by side, hand in hand. The weight of the past is still there, but so is the promise of a future. And for the first time in years, the barn feels like the heart of something complete. The barn is still echoing with the shock of Ty's return when another sound breaks through: soft footsteps. Lighter, quicker, filled with innocence. It's Lyndy. She has been searching for her mother, her little arms hugging a blanket, her eyes heavy with sleep. But when she steps inside and sees the man standing with Amy, she freezes. For a moment, she doesn't understand. Her young mind races to connect the stories she's been told with the figure before her. And then, like a spark, recognition lights her face. Daddy. Her voice is small, trembling, but filled with hope. The word shatters Ty. He drops to his knees, his strong frame collapsing under the weight of emotion. Tears flood his eyes as he opens his arms wide, afraid to move too fast, afraid this fragile moment could vanish. Lyndy doesn't hesitate. She runs to him, her blanket falling to the ground, and crashes into his embrace. Ty holds her tightly, his chest rising and falling in broken sobs. For years he had imagined this moment, dreamed of holding his daughter again, and now it is real. Amy watches her own tears streaming as she presses a hand to her mouth. This is the moment she had prayed for, the moment when their daughter could feel her father's love, not through stories or pictures, but through touch, through warmth, through the unshakable bond of family. The barn that once felt heavy with grief now glows with a light that seems to reach every corner. Jack steps closer, his hat in hand, his voice thick with emotion. It's about time you came home, son. The words are simple, but they carry the weight of years. Ty looks up at him, his eyes full of gratitude and regret. I never stopped thinking about this place, he replies, his voice shaking. I never stopped thinking about all of you. Lou enters then, her usual busy energy replaced with stunned silence. She stares at Ty, almost unable to believe what she's seeing. Finally, she breaks into tears and rushes forward, wrapping her arms around both Amy and Ty. You don't get to disappear again, she says firmly, half laughing, half crying. The mixture of relief and love in her voice brings another layer of warmth to the reunion. The family gathers around, each one reacting in their own way, some in shock, some in tears, all in awe. It's as though time has folded, bringing back the heartbeat of Heartland. The camera lingers on each face, Amy glowing with joy, Ty trembling with emotion. Lyndy nestled in her father's arms, Jack watching with proud eyes, Lou holding them all together. It is not just a reunion, it is a restoration. As the emotions settle, Amy finally speaks, her voice soft but steady. We've lived so long without you, Ty, but I never stopped believing that somehow, some way, you would come back. Her words hang in the air, heavy with truth. Ty cups her face in his hands and whispers, I should have been here. I missed so much. But if you'll let me, I want to make it right. I want to be the man you and Lyndy deserve. Amy doesn't answer with words. She leans in and kisses him, gentle at first, then deeper, carrying years of love, pain, and forgiveness. It's not the kiss of a fairy tale ending, but the kiss of a second chance. Around them, the barn feels alive, the horses shifting softly as though they too sense the healing taking place. The reunion scene does not end with grand speeches or promises written in stone. It ends with something far more powerful, a silence filled with breathing, with touch, with the knowledge that love has survived the impossible. Amy leans her head on Ty's shoulder, Lyndy clings to his hand, and the family surrounds them in quiet support. For the first time in years, Heartland feels whole. And though questions remain where Ty has been, what struggles lie ahead, how the family will move forward, none of that matters in this moment. What matters is that the family has been given the gift of reunion, and with it, the promise of healing. The morning after Ty's return feels different at Heartland. The ranch, bathed in the soft glow of dawn, seems to breathe with new life. The familiar sounds, horses neighing, roosters crowing, the wind moving through the trees, carry a rhythm of renewal. For Amy, waking up and seeing Ty in the kitchen, pouring coffee like he never left, is surreal. She watches him from across the room, almost afraid that if she blinks, the vision will vanish. But he looks up, smiles, and it is real. For the first time in years, she feels the weight of loneliness lift from her chest. Yet joy is never without its shadows. As Ty settles back into the family's life, questions begin to surface. Where has he been? Why did he stay away so long? His silence holds answers, but not all of them are easy to hear. Around the table, the family listens as he speaks of struggles, regrets, and choices that he thought were protecting them but only created distance. Some wounds may take time to heal, and the path forward will not be simple. For Lyndy, however, the future is brighter than ever. She clings to her father's side, following him around the ranch with endless questions. Will you help me with Spartan? Will you ride with me? Will you stay? Her innocence slices through the heaviness, reminding everyone that the return of a parent is more than a plot twist, it's a child's dream fulfilled. Watching Ty teach her to saddle a horse, Amy realizes their daughter is finally getting the life she always hoped for. Jack, though relieved, remains cautious. His wisdom tells him that reunions are not the end of a story but the beginning of a new one. He watches Ty with a discerning eye, offering advice only when needed, and waiting to see if this second chance will hold strong. His protective nature for Amy and Lyndy keeps him vigilant, but beneath that, there is pride. He sees the man Ty has become, scarred but stronger, and knows the ranch is whole again. Lou, ever the planner, starts asking practical questions: where Ty will stay, how they will manage the ranch work, and what this means for the future. Her concern comes from love, but also from the fear of losing what they just regained. For her, the future possibilities must be carefully guarded, so the family doesn't risk heartbreak again. But Amy is different. For her, Ty's return is not about fear, it's about faith. She knows there will be challenges, conversations that hurt, and nights when the past feels too heavy. Yet, when she looks at Ty, she sees the same partner she once trusted with her whole heart. She chooses to believe in love, in healing, and in the chance to rebuild. The ranch itself mirrors this transformation. With Ty's return, the energy shifts, the horses seem calmer, the work flows smoother, and laughter returns to the spaces that once felt quiet. Neighbors begin to notice too. Word spreads quickly in Hudson. Ty Borden is back. The community, who once shared in Amy's grief, now shares in her joy. There is excitement, but also curiosity. What role will Ty play in the wider story of Heartland? The possibilities stretch in every direction. Will Amy and Ty rediscover the rhythm of their partnership, both in love and in work? Will Lyndy grow up with the strength of both parents guiding her? Will the family embrace this new chapter, or will old wounds resurface to test their unity? The beauty of Heartland has always been in these questions, not in giving easy answers, but in showing how love, family, and resilience carry people through uncertain times. As the episode closes, the final shot lingers on Amy, Ty, and Lyndy standing together by the corral, watching the horses run free across the field. Their hands are intertwined, their faces lit with cautious smiles. The past is behind them, the present is a miracle, and the future is unwritten. But for the first time in years, the path forward feels full of promise. Heartland, Season 19. Episode 1 does more than give fans the return they longed for. It delivers hope, a reminder that love can find its way back, that families can be made whole again, and that second chances are worth believing in. And as the credits roll, one question burns brighter than all the rest. Is this the beginning of the most powerful chapter Heartland has ever told?